Don't buy.
Yeah, I
legal
mean, we
thing
reviewed that
Yeah.
before and after,
Put it out for
so.
bid, or?
It's approved, I can say that.
I can imagine if there is, then he is.
Good evening, and welcome to the Finance Committee meeting December 11th, 2018. Our agenda tonight is a financial update of the 2019 status and 2020 planning. Bonnie will give us an update there. Looks like we have two reserve fund transfer requests. One for Littleton Coalition Against Addiction for $2,500 for Project Alert. Essex North Shore Agricultural
Technical School District.
Technical School District, okay, excuse me, TSD, for $17,349 for out-of-district tuition. Then member updates, public input, minutes, and my favorite article, the adjournment. So, Bonnie, just give us an update as to...
Sure. Basically, we've got the budgets pretty much 95% into the new system in Munis, so it's working really well. The departments did a great job in getting the detail in, so I'm massaging the reports right now so that I can get information out to the boards in the next week, so that you'll have a couple of weeks to look at them. I'm also looking at giving you a link to log in and actually look at some of the information in Munis. So I might do that at your next meeting, kind of walk you through, you know, if you do a meeting before the all-day hearing. If not, I'll have the instructions. It's not that hard, and I'll narrow down your ability to get lost in the system to just one little menu, you know, if I set it up that way. But in that way, you can see all the attachments and everything for capital, and it's kind of nice to be able to just log in and see if there's any changes. So yeah, I should have that done in the next few days. The fiscal 19 status, you know, we've booked all of the transactions that happened for the special town meeting. I know that, you know, the ladder truck is under purchase order right now, so that's the first thing. We were able to set the tax rate on time, so Debbie will be able, our tax collector will be able to get the bills out well before the December 31st deadline. I did have a little hiccup again with DOR this year, the Department of Revenue, because, again, we're the only community out there that does not raise all our excluded debt. We actually pay it down. So there's a little bit of, you know, documentation they wanted on that, just to show, you know, how we were doing it. But, you know, it's a good thing to be the only one out there that's doing it. So, yeah, it was just a little unique. They wanted to double check again. I got a call from the Bureau of Accounts, making sure. But other than that, you know, we're in pretty good shape. I haven't received any information other than capital on the school department budget. So I'm going to tweak Steve Mark to see if he is going to be able to enter anything into Munis. They might not do that, you know, until the school committee meets. I'm not sure if that's what they're waiting for. But, you know, the system's open and available for them to actually key it in. So
No commitment from them, though, when we're going to get a budget for them?
December 15th is when we're supposed to have one. So
And they meet again this Thursday, right?
I think so, yeah.
So, yeah.
So I was thinking maybe they'll just key it in right after that. Hopefully.
I got with regard to next year's budget, I got a note this afternoon from Mike Prue asking Paul Glavy and I to get together with him and probably Alicia to talk about field maintenance and coming up with money to support field maintenance. So I didn't know whether you and Alicia had talked at all about that, or what.
Not lately. I've been running around kind of crazy, but I'll
Okay.
make a point of touching base with her.
Okay. So I'll attend that meeting and figure out what's going on and get back to everybody, so at least we know what people are thinking there. Okay?
One of the reserve fund transfers has been withdrawn. The first one that you had referenced for the Littleton Coalition Against Addiction. So that, they found a funding source for that by using the mitigation payments for sanctuary medicinals. So it's kind of a good fit, getting money in.
Who was it that was requesting that?
Who was it?
Cindy Napoli, from the Selectmen. It's kind of a budget orphan.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was going to ask, who,
Yeah.
but, okay.
Yeah, so, but they're going to use that mitigation payment, they're allowed to, under the statute, the way that it was accepted. So they'll bring it back to the
Was
Board of
mitigation
Selectmen.
from what? Where was that money from?
Sanctuary Medicinals. the-
Okay, got it.
So it kind of makes sense. It's an appropriate use for
So
something
good.
like that.
Is this something that will be in annual funding?
Yes.
And should it be in the budget, even
Yes.
if it is funded by the sanctuary
She's-
money? So at least it's up in front of everybody and it doesn't,
Yep. I did talk with her this afternoon, so it will be an item, a line item that's inserted for the Human Services budget, Elder and Human Services budget, for education for this particular program. So it will be put into the 2020 budget as a line item request.
okay, so it'll show up in the
Yep,
elder services.
but in a separate
Okay.
amount.
And the money is for education, you said?
Yes, it's to run a program at the schools or, you know, whether it's in the schools or not, but it's to run
Okay, that's what, that kind of a program, it's not
opioid.
intervention or
prevention,
something,
yeah.
it's.
No, it's an
it's-
educational
okay,
program.
Okay.
The next one is for Essex North
Oh,
Shore.
excuse me, is this one of the programs that Chief Bernard is involved with? He had a program that he was looking to start in the elementary schools.
I think it's different than that. This is like an outside person that comes in and runs this particular type of education program. So it's related probably to it, but it's a separate program.
Do you know if they're at least talking? So we don't have two,
Oh, yeah, I mean, they're definitely coordinating on that. Cindy is definitely very involved in.
okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, thank you.
Yep. The next reserve fund transfer request came in kind of unexpectedly, so I gave you a copy of the actual bill, but it's from Essex North Shore Agricultural Technical School District. So we have a Littleton student that is going there because the Neshoba Regional School does not offer the program that this particular student is trying to get into. So under the law, if they don't offer it, they can kind of choice into another district. And the way that it's paid for, again, under the statute, is the town, the sending town pays the bill, and the money is determined by the state. So I did verify this on the state's website to make sure it was the right amount, and it is. So it's for tuition and transportation. We had a similar issue like this happen a couple of years ago with Minuteman, you might remember. So we had two students in that case that were going through, and again, it was a program that wasn't offered here, and we were responsible for the tuition.
And we do not funnel the funds through the school department to Neshoba.
No, this is paid by the
It's
town.
a separate line item, and it's paid by the town.
Yes.
That's why this bill doesn't go to the schools to pay for kids' tuition.
Correct.
Okay. Just to be clear about
Yep.
it. Okay?
And we don't find out about this until November, that this is gonna happen? I mean, that,
Yeah, I would think, you know, my understanding in reading the law behind it is they have to be applying in like March or April. So somewhere there's information there. So I had asked the schools, you know, if you're aware of these coming through, is there someplace that you can point me in the direction to look? Or if you get a notice, can you send me the notice? So I did reach out to them and ask about that, but I haven't seen.
why would you even
anything
think
yet.
the sending school would have to let you, I mean, that's a big hit. I mean, you know, we have some options, but there'd be a lot of places that wouldn't be able to. I mean, that,
Yep.
it's in the school's best interest, I would think, to let you know ahead of time that they have students
Right.
coming, and you'll be receiving a bill from us.
Yep. I don't think they're obligated. Looks
broken
like they
there.
just sent, and I'm kind of surprised because when you're looking at a school choice issue on the traditional school side, that's handled at the state level. So they, you know, they figure your choice in money and your choice out money, and they just settle that up as part of your cherry sheet stuff. And they don't do that with tech school assessments, which I don't know why.
So what is the transportation? Do we provide transportation for the student, or does the student
The
get
school.
reimbursed?
I'm not sure in this case how that actually operates, but it is required in the statute that you pay for the transportation. So I don't know if this student has arranged for a particular bus. I don't know if the school has some program for smaller buses that come out to these outer towns. But we are required, because that was the first thing that I looked at.
A long commute to school every day, that's for sure.
It is.
That
Well, and
place is
again,
way
on
up
a
there.
choice out situation, we're not responsible for transportation.
No, I'm just saying for the kids, from the kids' standpoint, I'm just saying, he's got a long way to go every day, back and forth.
Yeah.
In a lot of traffic.
Do you have a clue what the program is? Do you want to be a farrier, a
It's,
blacksmith?
Could be agriculture, too. Right?
It's something in agriculture, but I'm not positive the field. But it's agricultural. And they don't have agricultural at Neshoba.
Okay.
Do they at either Astabat or at Minuteman?
I'm not sure on that.
I just wondered, because we'll be closer.
Is this the Board of Health?
No, 307.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, no problem.
I just wondered, because they're closer, that's why I just asked.
Yeah, I think if my understanding is if the student is, if it's not offered in the in-district school, then they can pick wherever they want to go.
So
That
is
has the
this
program.
individual a freshman, and we will
Freshman.
see this for the next 4 years?
Next 4 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's,
Grade 9.
yeah, we had 2 kids, I think it was, at
Minuteman.
Minuteman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember
Was
that.
it 20 grand a pop?
Yeah.
Well, basically, that's what this is, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So where do you, when you put this in the budget then going forward, does it go in this, it's not in the school money, but is
No,
it?
it's not in the school budget. It goes, you know how we have the Neshoba Tech assessment?
Yeah, I'm
Separate
just trying to think
line?
where that is. I'm trying to
So
think where that falls
it's
in.
right below the school budget. So the school budget comes in Department 300, 301 is Neshoba Tech, and I have 302 is other technical schools.
Okay, so.
So this will go in that.
So, okay, so we'll make sure we add this. So the 7,000 that were ahead of the game, we're now 10,000 behind for next year.
You got it.
Okay.
We were 7,000 ahead
Yep.
on that line item?
No.
No, on the budget
Don't you
then.
remember?
My balanced budget that I gave you.
Oh.
It's so unusual that it's balanced, you couldn't believe it.
It won't be balanced next time you see it.
Fred
remembers.
Sleep through that one?
Okay.
So do you have any more discussion on this item?
There's no place else that this can get funded, right? I mean, because we've got 50,000, right, for the year?
150.
150.
Oh, okay.
And, well, if we choose not to fund it this way, it'll have to wait until
Town
the
meeting.
the spring town meeting, and
Okay,
then
all right,
have
so-
to be
okay.
raised and appropriate or even transfer at that time.
Right.
That's the right way to do it then.
Anybody interested in making a motion? Yea or nay?
If we don't see any choice, so I move that we approve the reserve fund transfer for $17,349 for a tuition to tech school at Essex North Shore.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Oh, and the other thing on the financial update, I forgot to, it's like the whole purpose of tonight. I did give you a copy of the updated financial policies. I know we've reviewed them with the selectmen, we reviewed them in the financial policies group, they were approved there. The selectmen did approve them already at their meeting on November 19th. I think we had a problem with getting a quorum the last meeting, so I did just give you a copy of the policies and the memo again with the changes. They were more housekeeping issues for this year. I think that the selectmen might look to address some other issues maybe in the next year about capital planning, having maybe a committee to do capital planning rather than do it in a traditional way, but that's not included in here. The only thing that we did do was make some changes on page 5, which, let's see, on page 5.
Let's go back to page 1.
Yep.
This page. Page 11, inserting language allowing excess snow and ice funds to supplement the operating budget for roadway work. Currently, we use those for capital or reserves.
Right.
If we do this, we'll never use them for capital or reserves again. They will be put into the roadway, and the money that would normally have been we'll go someplace to buy something else.
The roadway budget is unique. The roadway budget is a separate line item in the budget.
Yep.
And can't be spent on any other thing other than roads.
But the money that would normally be put in to the roadway budget
Yep.
will now be put in less, whatever that is. And the remainder that we didn't put in the roadway budget, we'll spend someplace else again.
No.
And it won't necessarily be capital or reserves. And the one thing we do best around here is that roadway program. We spend money on capital, we get good capital equipment in place, and we're taking care of the reserves. And this is just one way not to do it.
I think that the thought behind this was that right now, the roadway budget is in the operating budget. It's not a capital item, okay? So we spend $720,000 a year appropriated in the operating budget for roadway improvements only. That can't be used to buy equipment. It's only used for roadway contracts, so repairs. What this is, would allow the snow and ice money, right now it says that you can't put that snow and ice money into an operating budget. So we're saying the only operating budget you could put it in, if you wanted to, and it's not a requirement, if you wanted to, would be to add to roadway for that 1 year. So if Chris Stoddard said, I could use a couple $100,000 to finish this particular project and move on to something else, or do a sidewalk or whatever, you could do that in a given year, only to that account in the operating budget.
Right, but it doesn't say you have to do
No.
it. If we say that we prefer to basically stay the course that we're on now for either reserves or for capital spending, we absolutely can do that. But today, we don't have the choice of adding this money to road maintenance. So that all it does is give us and the selectmen the opportunity to put that money into roadway or road maintenance.
Because roadway is an operating budget, it's
Right.
not a capital.
But why would we want to?
Because we always need more money to fix the roads, they're
You
terrible.
always need more money for capital projects.
I don't
We
know.
underfund it as it is.
Well, and you underfund roads as well.
No, we put $1 million into roads every year.
We
But it doesn't-
underfund
but it
capital
doesn't-
projects.
But it doesn't say you can't
Right.
use the snow and ice for other capital
Right.
projects.
Oh,
It just says you can.
You have the opportunity
Yeah.
to at least make the decision each year. Does it?
Doesn't require.
Does any of it, all of it go into roads? Does any of it, all of it go into reserve? Any of it, all of it go into capital? So it just adds a third layer of opportunity, that's all.
I thought, and didn't we have a discussion once too, that especially if we have so much for snow and ice, if we don't spend it on snow and ice, that it's kind of a logical, then let's use it, I mean, it's kind of in that, instead of doing it on snow and ice, you're doing other road work with it.
So that, I mean, that's really the discussion, so.
So can I have a follow-up question though on it? So besides the budget line item we have for snow and ice, you also
Budget
work
for a
with the
deficit.
system because then you can put money in there.
Correct.
So does this include that extra money, or is this just, or it depends on however much is allocated into there?
It depends on how much is actually spent. So
Okay.
we just set the tax rate.
Right.
So when I do that, I look at what I spent last year for snow and ice, which we budgeted 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I budgeted 450,000 for a deficit.
Right.
So I look at what we actually spent. The 450 deficit is coming out of my 19 money, because it's when you're setting the tax rate. So whatever I didn't spend out of that, and I had $200,000 left, we appropriated that for like the high school signal project at town meeting and, a couple of other things.
Right.
So we did use it on roadway for that particular instance. It would just allow you to decide, okay, I didn't deficit spend everything, let's use it on something else. And we do that every year.
All right, so it really does just come down to being able to spend it on operating as opposed to capital if you chose to in a given year.
Right.
Only for
It just
roadway.
gives you the opportunity to do it. And you can have have that discussion each year as you go. So
Yep.
that's really the only, it's not a you have to. And I agree with you, if it was a you have to, it wouldn't make sense. It's just.
Whoever put that in there had the idea that that's what they were going to do. That's why it's there. And it's the camel's nose under the tent. 2 years from now, it'll be, and also for this, and also for that, and also for the school, and also for whatever. So That's the way I see it. I mean, I'm not trying to convince you, I'm just telling you
Okay,
what's there.
that's fair.
Unless you wrote it, in which case I'll take back my objection.
No, I didn't write it. but
Okay, then I
agree
still-
with it. Okay. Why don't you just go through the,
Sure.
any other changes?
Yep,
and
the
then
only
we'll
other
vote
change,
or
on
not vote?
on page 5, when it talks about free cash, so when we go through the formula of, I get my free cash certified, we spend this much on capital, I keep some in reserves, and then if there's money left over, we can appropriate to other funds or other capital projects. But some years, we don't get that far. We just say, okay, I'm going to spend on capital, we're going to let the rest roll. And then free cash builds up year after year. And then we decided, like last year, we're going to go through that formula and allocate the money to the reserves. So we put some in capital stabilization, we put some in debt exclusion stabilization, we put some in OPEB. We're just saying that we're going to go through that formula every year. And that way, free cash isn't going to build up to this, unrealistic level. We're just going to put them into the reserve. So it's not going to limit the money, it's just going to put it into the reserves. So that there's benefit to it in that if there's a project in the fall that really needs to get done and free cash isn't recertified, once you put it in reserves, it's still available. So if you put it into capital stabilization, it's there, you can draw from it. The other thing I think is a good thing about it is free cash, when you're appropriating from free cash, it's a majority vote. So it's just a majority vote. When you're withdrawing, once you put it into reserves, you put it into one of the stabilization funds, it's a 2/3 vote out. So you get a better sense of desire from the community on whether they actually want to fund a particular project when you're appropriating it out. But most importantly, it's available the minute you put it in, it's now permanently there. Free cash goes away every July 1st. It's got to wait until it's certified again, which is usually in the spring. And from a financial perspective, Standard & Poor's, they count free cash and stabilization in the same way. So it won't affect our bond rating or anything. It's still a reserve.
And free cash is only going to grow, correct? Because we can't run a deficit.
You can run a deficit. Oh, yeah. Free cash is like your E&D, your excess and deficiency at the end of the year. So by policy, we keep 5% of our
Right.
operating budget there just to ride out any problems. So we should never be in a deficit for free cash. There are communities that have deficits in free cash because they've overestimated their revenue projections and they didn't meet their targets,
And
but
they
they
just
spent all their
didn't.
money and now they have a deficit they have to make up. So if you have a free cash deficit, you have to raise that on your tax rate, just like snow and ice. You have to fund it.
Okay.
So this, like I said, we should never have a deficit in free cash, but it just, we, by our policies, have built free cash so that we should replenish it by about $1.5 million every year, because that's what we use on capital. So we're conservative on our estimates, and we want to replenish it, but some years it's a little bit more, and then it,
The economy can tank, and you could go
Right.
the other direction.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then the last one was to just clean up the budget calendar, because we had some very specific dates in there, so we kind of removed that, hit the same milestones, but just put maybe like a seasonal, period of time rather than a hard date, because it didn't really make sense to have that in that level of detail.
So this, reading the memo, this requires a vote by the Finance Committee to approve it?
Yes.
Have the Board of Selectmen approved?
Yeah, the Board of Selectmen voted to approve it or accept the recommendation of the working group. And we have to do the same in order for it to be carved in stone here. And we were going to do it the last meeting, but we didn't have a quorum, so we wanted to wrap it up by the end of the year. So that was the main reason to have the meeting tonight.
So it's you and Gary that were on the committee? You and Gary were on this committee?
Greg?
Greg?
Yep.
Well, I guess I make a motion that we approve the recommendations of the Financial Policies Working Group.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
No? Okay, passes. Thank you. Okay, just quick around the table on member updates. Steve, anything?
No, I'm good.
Nothing on PMBC or anything?
No, we have a few RFQs coming out, one for the vault in the clerk's office, one for the Houghton roof, and depending on the school board's vote on Thursday night on funding for the pole vault, we may have an RFQ coming out for that. So we should have 3 RFQs coming out in the next few weeks.
Okay.
What's the pole vault?
They're going to put a pole vault box in the D area over at the end of the track. So we've contracted with Green. They gave us a number of options. We chose option 1. They also provided a budget for the work. It was about $15,000 or $17,000. So the school board's going to look at that Thursday night.
So they'll fund it out of their budget? I mean, is that?
Well, they're going to find out, how much, I forget which group it is involved, but there's another group
It
that's
was
got,
LTO, wasn't it? The Littleton Track Organization?
I guess it may be, yeah, Littleton Track.
So it may be a
See how
joint
much they're going to
project, okay.
contribute, yeah.
Okay. Good. That's it?
No, I talked to the fire department and a couple other departments about their budgets and so on, nothing,
Nothing urgent.
nothing.
Okay.
People doing what
Oh.
they're supposed to be doing, working hard at it, and, yep.
I did meet with the library, and I failed to get back to you on that, but we went over their budget,
Okay.
and I can send that out.
But that's fine, nothing that stands out
No,
other than the
there was
potential on the building? Or?
some additional hours for some additional people that were minimal, 3 hours for one person and, a couple hours for another person. So,
Did Sam have any feeling on the grant coming through, or timing, or is that still up
Well, we're
sometime?
next on the list.
Right, so-
So it'll probably be in the spring.
Okay.
Yeah, they mentioned that they were going to put it in the capital plan for the spring, with the idea that if, they could pull it back if they needed to for the fall, but they wanted to just keep it on the radar.
Yep.
Okay. Alan, anything?
No.
Okay. Anthony sent, or I'm not sure whether you sent that or Anthony sent out a note on MMA.
Anthony said it, yeah.
So if anybody's interested in going to that in, I think it's January 18th or 19th, let Bonnie know, or,
Yeah, they have a pretty good list of programs there. It's kind of interesting. I enjoy going every year. There's a lot of different classes, that you can go to, not just financials,
so you can look at it if you're interested, get back.
Yeah, just let me
to
know.
her and whatnot. Okay.
Will do.
Public input? Hello? 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 No public input. Okay, minutes, we have, you had one set of minutes that you sent.
Oh, they were, yeah.
And do you have the copy, just to make sure we've got the?
I just have my copy.
That's
yeah.
all right, just to see who was there, so whether we can.
Fred, Betsy, Al, Steve, and Tom.
Okay,
Absent was Greg and Gary.
okay, so that's fine. So the date on those?
September 25th, and it's the note that I sent out that I called them belated. Because I was typing them in the van, all of a sudden Dick called us up, the van's here, better power that down and get out of here. So, finished it when I got home.
Okay. Marilyn sent them out, I sent a couple of small comments, but nothing urgent. Anybody want to discuss them or make a motion to accept the minutes of September 25th?
What you said. So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So you can have those posted. So we've got the joint meeting minutes that need to be completed. Is this the infamous meeting or on the sewer vote?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
And it was the school resource office,
Yep, okay,
and the retail sales of marijuana, the smart sewer borrowing.
yep,
It
that's fine.
said, the part for that says, hold till the joint meeting with the BOS and school committee on October 24th.
No problem. Okay, so the only minutes I guess we have open at this point are the ones where we didn't have a quorum. And I don't know technically, we need minutes for that, because I mean, there's
There's
nothing.
no action items. We
So,
didn't take any action.
I'll talk to Diane and see if we should have minutes on a meeting like that or not.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. All righty, anything else? Entertain a meeting to
Move to we adjourn?
adjourn?
Second.
Want to think about it?
No?
No, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much.